I am so sorry. Of course, I'm Jason. This is ESTEY'S Crime Maze. I'm so sorry. I tried to do StreamYard and I almost want to swear. They will not allow me to set up an actual live. I was doing StreamYard lives before, days prior. Now it just keeps saying record, record. I don't want to do a recording. I want to be live with all of you. Welcome, everyone. I'm sorry we're late. Therefore, going live. What time is it? Oh, man. 8 minutes late. I probably lost thousands of you amazing true crime junkies. You won't be on the live, but I know some of you still will be. So thank you for your patience. Probably wondering, what the heck? Jason, ESTEY'S Crime Maze, you said you were going live at 4 p.m. And what's it going to be? What's the subject matter, my friends? It's on Charlie Kirk, right? We're supposed to believe the public that this guy was really assassinated. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? My friends, I want to first give credit to Ellie. I did amazing interviews, I thought, with Ellie Sophia Rossetti because she's amazing. And we talked about Charlie Kirk. We talked about the Idaho 4 case as well. And guess what, my friends? Welcome, by the way. Hi, Robin. Thank you. I'm so sorry, Robin. I hope you can explain to me tonight, Robin, before I go live on the Amazing Devil's Advocate show with Robin as the co-producer, why on StreamYard does it keep showing record? And I press live for live stream, and it's just showing record at the top right. So I can't even go live. What the hell is going on? Man, I'm so frustrated. Anyway, so thanks for being here, Robin. Yeah, these things happen, she says. Yes, from Robin, she handles the stress, what do I call it? Robin handles all these technical difficulties, and she'll get frustrated like the rest of us, but she knows how to rock on, man. She's doing an amazing job handling the show. So back to Charlie Kirk, my friends. I did interviews with Ellie Sophia Rossetti, the lovely Ellie Sophia Rossetti, and it's up on my YouTube, guys. You can check it out, guys and gals. And Ellie's sister's a professional makeup artist. Can you guess what I'm about to say, my friends? What do you think, as a professional makeup artist, what do you think she said? Apparently, and I learned this through Ellie, that she says it was so phony, so staged, right? And it was, my friends. Charlie Kirk, you're going to find out in this video, my friends, even though I can't show you, it's not something we can get video evidence of or a signature necessarily, but he's alive. He's out the back door. We're going to connect the dots, my friends. I'm going to show you this wasn't a real assassination. It's called the feds, and that meaning the intelligence community, because you better believe CIA were involved in this, largely elements of the FBI as well, my friends. They did what they call a public extraction removal operation. It's kind of my own terms as well, but that's exactly what it was, my friends. And these extraction removal operations, these are a real thing, my friends. But rarely do you have a public extraction, but that's exactly what it was. And we're going to get into it. Thanks for being here again, everybody. I'm sorry that, again, I don't have you on the StreamYard, but I see your comments, thankfully, right here on my YouTube from my phone. I couldn't get StreamYard working on the computer. Bizarre. Keep saying record. So anyway, let's go back to Charlie Kirk, my friends, because this event is so important, you know, because in the grand scheme of things, my friends, you know, you keep hearing that, you know, people are trying to make Charlie Kirk out to be a martyr, and that's largely the intelligence community, I believe, trying to con the public to make you think that Charlie's some martyr. He had some interesting conversations at times, but my friends, in my books, he didn't want to change the world largely. He wasn't a real change agent and huge genuine leader. He had a big so-called movement, but this movement, my friends, it wasn't really to change the world. And that's not to say, though, I believe, as I've said in many of my videos, a lot of his young followers, or some of them at least, my friends, I believe they had genuine intentions. They would like to change the world, okay? But as a leader, so-called leader, Charlie Kirk, and he wasn't a powerful leader at all, my friends. This guy, if he was a real change agent, wouldn't he have discussed the U.S. Bill of Rights? First, Second Amendment, all that good stuff. Wouldn't he have discussed that miraculous piece of legislation, the U.S. Bill of Rights, that many, many other countries have adopted, right? Including my powerful country, Canada. You better believe, my friends, if you want to change the world, you need to educate people on the U.S. Bill of Rights, okay, from the founding fathers of the United States. And I don't even live in the USA, but I know this. KIRK was mum on it, as far as I know, my friends. The other thing is, as part of people trying to make this guy out to be a martyr or something, they say, oh, he critiqued Israel and the genocide, right? And the Jewish lobbyists. Well, he started to ask some questions, and he did critique and bring up the Jewish lobbyists. But my friends, he was mum on the genocide for what? Over 2 years. It wasn't until the last month before he died, my friends, before he asked any questions, because KIRK, he knew that all of his followers are saying the same thing. Why are the Israelis, and I don't mean normal Israeli people, the Israeli citizens are amazing people. Unfortunately, they are getting brainwashed, like many governments and countries around the world, but we're largely talking the elites, aren't we, my friends? The global financial predators that use those soldiers to kill so many innocent Palestinians. For what? For what? In the grand scheme of things, my friends, we know, and Dr. Sheev's talked about it, it was for the elites to get this land grab, $2.3 trillion. As I use the term global financial predators, my friends. That's exactly what it was. And they will do a land grab, or they will commit genocide to get that land grab. But Charlie Kirk, my friends, he was mum. Absolutely mum. He was pro-Israel, right? He kissed the walls in Israel, going 8 times, right? Suppose he is this Christian. And I bring all this up to say, my friends, and I've said it before, is the most important thing in life, and Dr. Sheev will tell you it's the same thing, and Alan McDonald, the famous U.S. astronaut that died, he told you the same thing too, my friends, an amazing U.S. patriot. The most important thing in life is to tell the truth at the right time. But these grifters, and I believe Charlie Kirk in there as well, my friends, they often don't tell you the truth at the right time. They delay truth, which is deadly. So let's keep that in mind about the real Charlie Kirk, my friends, in my opinion, okay? And like most people, he had some good qualities, Charlie Kirk, but his wife, oh my gosh, what a piece of work she is. Erica Kirk, right, creating the non-for-profit at 17 years old. This has all come out now, my friends. We'll get to the stage crime scene in a moment, okay? But if you don't mind me telling you, those of you that may not know this, one sec here, everyone. Yes, thank you, Robin. Please like the video. Yes, Robin, thank you. It's great for the algorithms, everyone. I want to build this channel up. We're almost at 700 subscribers. My friend Lee, who's the creator and owner of Devil's Advocates, my friends, and I'm going to be on a guest tonight on Devil's Advocates, 9 p.m. Check us out, my friends. Lee keeps asking me, he keeps mentioning, you're almost monetized, Jason, right? You're almost monetized. And I said, I keep saying, I think so. So we're almost there. But I appreciate all your support, everyone. I hope you subscribe. Again, hit that thumbs up if you enjoy my videos, like. Hit the bell icon to be notified for future videos. And feel free to leave me a comment, everyone. That all helps get the videos ultimately out to you guys and gals, is my understanding. So thank you, my friends, for being here. Now, I'll just briefly describe Erica Kirk, my friend. She created a non-for-profit at 17 years old. This is Charlie Kirk's wife, right? And what was that? That was in Romania, right? She's acting like, by the way, who creates a non-for-profit at 17 years old? That's very unheard of, right, my friends? But, and so Romanian Angels, the U.S. military were in Romania. She was in Romania. And it's on her Vimeo page, everybody. This is all public knowledge. She's kissing the orphans' faces, coming off this big philanthropist, Erica Kirk, right? She cares so much. And what did she do? She was apparently the liaison for delivering young girls to military bases. Are you kidding me? There's a black guy on YouTube, my friends, and he said, I delivered to military bases. He's described, obviously the women, they're not around their husbands. He almost described like they were raping him. He's a good-looking black dude. He's describing, obviously, the soldiers, the men. They're not around their wives. They're full of testosterone. And you're delivering females, and apparently young girls to military bases. And again, I always want to add a qualifier, my friends. Most of the U.S. military, same with my Canadian military, They are absolutely amazing. Most soldiers are absolutely full of intellectual integrity, intellectual honesty, and of course, they do an amazing job protecting our human rights and fundamental freedoms. So I want to make that very clear, my friends, all right? But what the hell was going on in Romania at that time with Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife? Well, as people have surmised now, my friends, when reason, logic, common sense, it looks like she was involved possibly in human trafficking, sex trafficking, my friends. And then she got kicked out of Romania. Charlie Kirk's wife, my friends, the Romanian authorities apparently were so fed up with kids disappearing, God knows what else, that they kicked her ass out and her non-for-profit. So doesn't that reason, logic, common sense infer, my friends, somehow that Erica Kirk was involved, directly or indirectly, with sex trafficking? I think you can make that inference, but I'll leave it up to you guys. So a lot of questions about this Erica Kirk, and of course, most people understand this is just a psyop with all her acting. She's not even close to so-called normal grieving. I know we all grieve differently, as it's been said a million times, right? But oh my God, I almost feel sorry for her, my friend. She's being controlled by somebody. I talked about this briefly on Devil's Advocate show. I mean, she's being pushed out there, seemingly, right? To try to put this emotionally highly charged narrative. My husband, oh, Charlie Kirk, he died. He was this hero. He was so brave. By the way, my friends, those of you that might support Charlie Kirk or supported him, that's fine. What did he do that was so brave and courageous? I don't see it. He wasn't brave or courageous. Again, he didn't even critique the genocide for the longest time. Again, until a month before he died, my friends. And he just said things like, rightly so, he said, he was on a big YouTube channel. He said, I think it was Patrick McDavid's show. He said, what did he say? Oh, he just said, he thinks it may have been a stand down order, during that false flag event with Israel, when they claimed that Hamas came in, right? And somehow they got in the most secure airspace, by the way. Kirk didn't say this, but, and they were able to do an attack on Israel. I mean, Israel is the most secure airspace, folks. It was a false flag, in my opinion. It was all set up. And Kirk rightly said, was there a stand-down order? And then he critiqued, talking about the Jewish lobbyists. So when you do that, my friends, and again, Kirk waited a month before he so-called died, before he disappeared. Yes, you have a bullseye on you when you're at Charlie's level and you start talking about, apparently, that, or Mossad. You're gonna have a bullseye on you. But that doesn't mean the hit got carried out, my friends. It's all staged. Charlie was a government asset, I would argue, wasn't he, everyone? And guess what? Ellie found out that Charlie Kirk's father helped build Trump Towers, for example, my friends. Yes. So do you think the Trump administration are going to allow any lone assassin, let alone more than one, or Mossad to kill Charlie and shoot him? No, of course not. He was on that jet plane, I believe, my friends. The jet plane that took off, a half hour later, right? It had no transponders. Everybody knows, and we were wondering who's on that jet plane. It couldn't be tracked. What the hell's going on? Well, I can't prove it, but I surmise Kirk was on that plane. But I can prove, my friends, that this was a staged crime scene. I'll still say legally whatever, for my opinion. It was a staged crime scene, my friends. They didn't do any forensics afterwards, right? They took the tent down, no forensic teams, in other words, coming in, doing ballistic analysis. No, and it even gets worse than this, my friends. You almost got to laugh. It's so pathetic. When Charlie Kirk supposedly got shot, by the way, let me just look closely on my phone here for a moment, everyone. I'm trying to read your comments. These are very small on my phone. So why are we, Joseph Frost, 19501 says, so why are we gay? I don't know why you say that. Why are we gay? Robin says, yes, he did. Keith, well, exactly. What do you want to tell me in an honest answer? Yeah, and Robin says, which was super weird about Charlie Kirk, right? Keep the comments and questions going, my friends. I love it, and I'll look at them even more after the live. Of course, I'm doing the best I can right now. So, again, everyone, it was Ellie's sister, who is a professional makeup artist. Ellie told me this. Ellie's sister, professional makeup artist, said that it was so phony the way they did it. So phony. And she's right. And Ellie's sister, my friends, again, I would take her expertise. I'm not a professional makeup artist, but she tells you they probably had, she's convinced they had latex on Kirk's neck. And so again, my friends, this likely was not a high caliber bullet from a rifle or a gun. It was either a pellet, or I would speculate it could have even been, people speculated too, it could have been electroids or whatever, what do you call it? Almost like a stun gun, something to stun Kirk, right? But there was something hit him because he had a blood pack. On social media, my friends, you can see this. All of you that think Kirk was shot, killed, check on the internet where it looks like a blood pack. I think it's unmistakable under his white shirt with tubes. Yes, my friends. And this is what you would do if you're going to do a public extraction and remove Charlie Kirk from the public, but not kill him. That's exactly what you do. You'd have to have a blood pack underneath the shirt, because we saw what would happen afterwards, right? Everyone, Kirk just barely moves like this, right? Then he's tackled by security, but also you got blood, immediately going out of his neck, and we're supposed to believe that's his real blood. It's all horseshit, my friends, in my opinion, right? Come on. And I'll prove it to you, my friends. I can't prove it to you showing you the actual clips on this live. Perhaps one day I will, my friends, but YouTubers show you, and you can look it up, my friends. It's so phony. When security tackled Kirk, it looks like, and again, I'm not the only one to bring this up, the feds had a trap door underneath him, which would make perfect sense. Kirk goes through the trap door after the feds tackled him off his chair. That's kind of bizarre. But anyway, he goes through the trap door. The guy they lifted up, my friends, everybody saw they lifted a body up, right? The guy had no blood on his white t-shirt. And guess what? No freedom logo. And I'm not lying to you, my friends. No freedom logo on Kirk's white t-shirt or blood. Remember, while Kirk was in front of the audience, right, and alive, all this, he had a freedom logo on his shirt. So who was it that they picked up? It certainly wasn't Kirk. It was probably a dummy. Wouldn't it be, my friends? And the YouTuber showed you, I thought this was brilliant. He shows you the shoes of this dummy or person that they lifted up. It was brand new shoes, my friends. Kirk, remember, was walking on the dirt and grass. So what the hell's going on? I'll tell you what's going on, in my opinion, everyone, and I'll keep repeating it. We saw a stage crime scene, a public extraction removal done by the feds. Elements of the CIA. The feds, my friends, yes. Okay? This was a huge intelligence, I believe, operation. Okay? And elements, probably a military operation as well. It was a tactical, operational, and really strategic PSYOP. Because we're seeing the strategic part of it, the big picture here, everyone, of the PSYOP, right? They're trying to convince you that Kirk is killed, and he's, again, trying to make him out to be a martyr. It's nonsense, in my opinion. Yeah, Robin says, yeah, why did they pave over the place so fast? Question mark. Exactly, Robin. Why did they? I think clear, because they know that Kirk is not really killed. They have to cover everything up. Robin says, you only do that if you're trying to hide something. Totally concur. Totally agree. T-Coon says, Robin Lynn, I didn't pay much attention to this case, but they're saying it's strange. Exactly. Very strange. And very important case for us to understand, my friends, I believe, and tell the truth of what really went down. Because otherwise they're going to, the feds will continue to try to do more hideous PSYOPs potentially, my friends. And largely we know these false flag events and like a Kirk, I believe, extraction, some of the other true crime cases where, I believe the government has faked deaths. Okay, and they legally can do this. I get into it on the Devil's Advocate show, everyone. But it's largely when they create these false flag events and PSYOPs, it's to try ultimately some of the intelligence community, some of them, and the global financial predators, they want to override our rights, my friends, especially in the United States there at times. Yes, this is what it's all about, everyone. We got to fight for human rights and fundamental freedoms around the world, right? So provide truth and transparency the best way we can. Certainly I'm not perfect, but I can tell you one thing, my friends, it's right in front of your eyes. If you looked objectively, do not get caught up in the emotional PSYOP of this Charlie Kirk fiasco. It was a PSYOP, it was staged, and anybody can see it, my friends. Reason, logic, common sense, and with their own eyes, okay? But it's also great to get that interesting perspective, I think, from, like Ellie's sister, a professional makeup artist, right? So, And I want to give credit to Ellie. She attaches my intro. Unfortunately, again, I couldn't get StreamYard to go, so I couldn't attach my intro for you guys and gals for my true crime channel. I'm sorry, but next time we will, okay? So please, everyone, before I end this live, I want to ask you, I hope you'll come on to my next live. We'll have it more polished up. Hopefully, Robin hopefully will help me, and I'll get that live going again on StreamYard, okay? And when I pay for StreamYard, also you'll see your comments, okay, on the screen too. Let's see here. I know I'm having to talk fast, my friends, today, but Robin's got a link, I believe, for somebody on Charlie Kirk at Clone War Stuff 6020, Charlie Kirk. Yes, Clone Wars Stuff 6020, I believe, says staged. He's dead? Question mark? No, he's not dead. That's the thing. So here's my assessment, my friends. Here's what really happens. Again, it was a fake unaliving, fake death, okay? Fake murder. It's bullshit. And the feds, here's it's almost kind of scary. The feds, my friends, under USC Code 31 WITSEC, W-I-T-E-C. I talked about this extensively on Devil's Advocate show, my friends, because it's very important. USC Code 31 WITSEC in the United States, under the Federal Witness Security Program, my friends, this is witness protection, baby. They can legally stage a violent event. They can fake deaths. They can delete somebody. And they can fake it. They can legally kill somebody at times. They can fake deaths, my friends. But they can stage a crime scene if a confidential informant's been compromised. Yes. And obviously they think they can somehow legally do this with Charlie Kirk too, my friends, in my opinion. Because we didn't see a real shooting, a high caliber bullet hitting the actual neck and arteries of Charlie. My friends, come on. Like I said, even Ellie, who is a professional makeup artist, said that, because Ellie told me that she says there's latex on the neck. Again, I would speculate that it was either a pellet, therefore, that hit him, or it could have some other technology. Something hit Charlie, right? Or he's shocked, and he's out, and then he goes through the trap door, and Charlie's alive, my friends, okay? And he's in another country, and I believe he's probably in New Zealand. I'm trying to get it confirmed, everybody, that the United States, they may have a WITSEC program, some of that infrastructure in places like New Zealand. They have one in Puerto Rico. And remember what Kash Patel said, my friends. I know the rabbit hole goes deep on this case, and often does. But Kash Patel, remember, he's describing Kirk as his brother, apparently. And then Kash Patel says something like, he says, we'll see you in Valhalla. So he's trying to use that metaphor for Valhalla to the public as if I'm going to see you in the afterlife. Because in New Zealand, you're giving affinity and love sort of to people who died in an act of courage, bravery, okay? So that's what Kash Patel is trying to convince you, the public, to buy into. But believe me, my friends, in my opinion, Kash Patel would absolutely know that Charlie Kirk is alive. This was a public extraction removal operation. And Valhalla, apparently there's a place of Valhalla in New Zealand, on Goat Island, my friends. Yes! And the picture, the guy they're going to apparently bring to court to try to convince you that he did the shot and killed Charlie, there was a picture of him in front of his computer, and it had Goat Island on his computer. No word of a lie, my friends. So the feds, they just put it right in front of your face. But I believe Charlie's there, probably. He could be anywhere in the world, for that matter. So I see some more comments coming in. This is great. Bill, it's hard for me to see your name sometimes, my friends. I'm so sorry about that. Build, it's BILLDESME 1329 says rip Charlie Kirk, and he said Trump MAGA America. I think it's a guy, but I'm not sure. I like those comments. T. Kuhn says a question. So why stage it? Another person says, you've been smoking some fucked up weed. No, I swear to God, I haven't even done any weed. I might do a joint before I get on Devil's Advocate show tonight, though, at 9 p.m. I got to be wired and ready to keep up with those guys. That meaning Lee, the creator of the show, the beautiful Robin, co-producer of the show, and of course our amazing guests, One and Joe. Joe's at he's on Substack, I believe, and X at State of the Deep. Okay, we got amazing guests there. Why remove Charlie Kirk? I'll answer that question in a second. Another question, or I missed it. What do they get with faking the Charlie situation? Another similar question. Here's another one, a comment. I know many hunters, and I've been hunting many times. I'm familiar with that caliber, so I don't agree with what they're saying was used. Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. And here's the thing, my friends. You know, again, I respect most snipers, almost every one of them. Most of them do, again, an amazing job serving often within the military. Sometimes they've worked, maybe for CIA, intelligence community. Again, they're trying to protect human rights, trying to protect people's bodily autonomy, right? Snipers, right? And often being in war zones and front lines sometimes, or working covertly. But all these snipers that come on YouTube, my friends, I'd love to interview one, because none of them, as far as I know, they never tell you, well, wait a sec. Or even, they don't even speculate, well, wait a sec. What if Kirk isn't killed? Isn't he? He's alive. This is all staged. He can't be killed. This is like a blood pack underneath his shirt, like it shows on the internet, folks, and tubes. So they'll give some interesting ballistic analysis and say, rightly so often, that guy couldn't have fired the shot, things like that. But they don't take it a step further on the real powerful truth of this case, my friends. Charlie Kirk wasn't even killed. He couldn't have been killed, in my opinion, my friends. And you don't have to be a sniper to know that. I wish these snipers would come out and really tell you the truth on that, my friends, that Kirk could not be dead. This was a public extraction removal. And you better believe a lot of snipers, my friends, not all of them, but a lot of them will know about extraction removal operations. Come on. One person says, Grandma time travel. She says, I think your head is messed up. Why do you say that? My head is messed up. Now, to answer the earlier question, sorry if I'm bouncing all over the place, my friends. To answer your earlier questions, two people asked, why would they stage this? That's the million-dollar question. I think, again, my friends, Charlie Kirk, he had to finally tell the truth to the whole world, which the whole world already knows about the genocide, unfortunately, that took place on those Palestinians, right? Even though Kirk still never got into it, really never, not in a big way at all. And he was mum on it for basically his whole life. I mean, it's been going on. But he did critique or those, again, Jewish lobbyists. I forget in what context that I guess most of the lobbyists are Jewish and stuff like that. And he did say in one interview that he thinks that, that false flag event on Israel with Hamas coming in, that it was a stand down order by the Israeli government. This would be reason, logic, common sense, my friends. Otherwise, you'd shoot, these hand gliders or something. You shoot them down. I'm sure that what Kirk meant. So, but when you do those things, my friends, and again, you're at Kirk's level, you've got to go. That the feds knew they had to get rid of him. Also, my friends, I think another reason why they staged Kirk's death and had to remove him, as a couple friends of mine told me, he started to lose credibility, my friends. You better believe it. Kirk started to get exposed at times in some of these so-called interesting conversations that he had. And sometimes I guess they were interesting to some people. And he'd interview trans people and things like that. People like that, I should say. But Kirk was taking money from the sponsors. He signed his soul away. That very well may be too, my friends. I think a big part of it behind the scenes, obviously, there was a lot of money, as many of us know, a lot of money at play with this Turning Point USA. And was there sex trafficking, my friends? Remember, I told you about Erica Kirk's history that all of us that research Erica Kirk should know by now, right? Again, starting a non-for-profit at 17 years old, apparently helping to deliver girls to military bases. To this day, my friends, apparently she's got a colonel's name on her Venmo page or something. YouTubers have played you this, so I don't even need to show you. You can find this all out on your own, my friends, right? A lot of questions about Erica Kirk. And her two parents are tied in. They work for Department of Defense, my friends. Again, think the intelligence community here. Okay, some very powerful people at play. So anyway, Kitso Mojo says, hi, Jason. Love your show. Thank you. Or late to your show, she says. That's okay. I was late. Cats Mojo, I was late actually starting my live by 8 minutes. Unfortunately, I couldn't get StreamYard to go, so I'm on my phone, so no worries. And again, thank you, everyone. We got 14,000 people on my live. It says 14. It just doesn't have the 3 zeros. So, but anyway, that's okay. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm probably, who knows, hopefully I'm not being shadow banned. You know how the game is played, unfortunately, my friends. A lot of people say I am, but I hope not. I hope they won't be cowards and allow me to take this channel to a whole other level. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Conspiracy channel. Conspiracy channel. Well, you know, the word conspiracy, that's from products last 409, I think. Products for last 409 said conspiracy channel, question mark. I want you to keep in mind, that's a good question. The word conspiracy, my friends, was weaponized by the CIA during John F. Kennedy, remember his assassination there in the United States. The CIA literally came out in a freedom request memo, I believe. The CIA weaponized that word because they said, you know, just throw the word conspiracy. Anybody who tries to connect CIA to Kennedy's assassination, just say it's a conspiracy. So now people just throw that word conspiracy, right, often on legitimate investigations. So you better believe this was a conspiracy done by quite a few people were involved in this. And again, it was done so phony, so phony. I agree with what Ellie told me, with what Ellie's sister said, who's a professional makeup artist. Again, she basically said it was so phony the way they did this op, in other words, right? It's a psyop, my friend, psychological operations, baby. Okay? Strategic psyop. An operation one. I shared your live in Discord, Robin said. Thank you, Robin. Thank you very much. So those are some of the things I wanted to say about Charlie Kirk, my friends. And again, here's the real evidence, in my view, that shows you that it was all staged, that Kirk is alive, they faked his death, that being the feds, elements of CIA, elements of FBI involved, etc. Okay? As I told you earlier, my friends, and you can look up these YouTube angles, and maybe, just maybe, I can have Robin help me. If I have to do an actual video and not a live, like a pre-recorded video, I'll show the clips, my friends, where other YouTubers, particularly this black dude, he showed you the clips, that after security tackled Charlie Kirk, my friends, as I said earlier, the guy they lifted, the person, it's probably a dummy, had no Freedom logo on his shirt. Remember, Charlie had a Freedom logo, my friends, and there was no blood on the shirt. You can just make it out, my friends. You can literally see it in the angles as they're picking this body up. And there was no blood, by the way, on anybody that picked up Charlie, supposedly Charlie Kirk. That shows you, my friends, that Kirk's got to be alive. He went through a trap door underneath. Has to be, my friends. And why would, many people said this was really strange. Why would Charlie be suddenly just happen to be wearing a white shirt? Remember everyone was saying Charlie always wore, wasn't it black and gray or something? It was 2 shades of colors. You guys can feel free to let me know if you know, okay? No, Charlie is not dead. Jeremy D. Brown 9328. Charlie is not dead. Listen to my whole live, and you should understand this. And again, I'm describing right now, Jeremy, listen. The guy they lifted, again, had no Freedom logo on his shirt, no blood on the shirt, no blood on the people picking it up. Remember, you're supposed to believe that Charlie had his neck blown out by a high-powered bullet, right? It's real blood. Well, then why there'd be blood all over people picking him up, my friends? There has to be, right? And I'm sure if you talk to real military guys and or snipers, if they were being honest with you, they're going to have to say the same thing if they get into that conversation. There'd have to be blood on the people picking them up. Come on. Right, folks? Not to mention, there was no blood going to the vehicles. There'd be blood trail, man. Okay? I talked about this with Ellie. So that shows you, my friends, it was a staged crime scene. Right there. Okay? And we could talk about ballistics like snipers do all day. Oh, this bullet may have been fired from here, or this bullet couldn't have been fired from here. This person may have fired a shot or didn't fire a shot. In the end, my friends, that's just all theater. It really isn't that important. In my view, what's really important, or the most important thing, and again, I wish snipers would say this, is that Charlie Kirk could not have been killed. He couldn't have been killed in part because not only, and by the way, my friends, I want to really quickly give credit. I never watched the video, but somebody told me that he was a Navy Special Forces. Oh God, I forget his exact job description in the military there, my friends. Navy SEAL. Excuse me. Yeah, Navy SEAL. So this guy was probably an amazing American patriot, military former soldier. And apparently, he said the obvious, my friends. He told the public on his video that, yeah, Kirk did not react the way you would react. I think he's implying to a high-powered bullet. I mean, right? The guy barely even moved. But my friends, the real, even more powerful truth that we all can see that it was staged, in other words, my friends, is what I just described. The guy they lifted had no Freedom logo, no blood on the white shirt. And by the way, as I meant to say earlier, everyone, people were wondering, why did Kirk happen to wear a white shirt? Anyone can know this, right? It shows the blood more. If you wear a white shirt, my friends, again, don't underestimate how shrewd and organized that the feds can be, my friends, in this, right? Whether it be CIA, FBI. They know what they're doing, my friends. That's why they never have to be mad at me. I give them credit where credit is due. They're really good sometimes at doing these psyops, my friends. And yet at the same time, I had a qualifier because Ellie's sister, as a professional makeup artist, as I repeat, she said it was so phony the way they did it. It was almost like they did it on purpose. And they just think they think all of you on my live today, all 28 of you now, they think you guys are so dumbed down and stupid or don't care about this public extraction removal operation. They actually hoping and thinking you're going to buy into it, that Kirk was actually killed, assassinated. Bullshit, in my opinion. Absolute horseshit. He's alive, my friends. And finally, my friends, I'll just tell you, I discussed the Whitsick program on Devil's Advocate show at times, and hopefully we'll get more into it on his show. WITEC, my friends, that again is the Federal Witness Security Program, the Federal Witness Protection Program in the United States. They have infrastructure all over the United States. They have infrastructure, as I said earlier, in Puerto Rico. Okay, I'm trying to get it confirmed if they have one in New Zealand, which I think they do, but I can't say for sure. So again, my point is, my friends, you better believe, in my opinion, Charlie Kirk is alive and well, and he will be protected under the Whitsick program. Okay? And you can even buy a house, apparently, when you're in the Whitsick program, by the way. Did you know that? So this is how it works, everyone. Okay? So please don't buy into the nonsense. Yeah, and it is a huge conspiracy, but it's true. And the idea that the guy was walking around with a rifle in his pants is ridiculous. Exactly. That's what many of the feds are trying to convince you, that there was this lone, this assassin that fired, I guess, a high-powered bullet and it killed Charlie Kirk. And nonsense. I can't say what exactly hit Charlie Kirk, my friends. And I don't know if even snipers could tell you exactly what was the bullet or pellet that hit Charlie Kirk, or was it all sophisticated technology in a way where Charlie was just electrocuted? He was shocked. It looked like that, just he barely moved after getting hit. He got hit by something, my friends. I just wish snipers would tell the whole truth, that this was most likely a public extraction removal operation, that Charlie's alive. They had to get rid of him out of the public eye, but he's not killed. There's no way the Trump administration would allow him to be killed, my friends, in my opinion. No way. Charlie Kirk's father helped build Trump Towers. They're all like this, my friends. They're all like this. It's one biggest, largely insidious intelligence sort of operation, my friends. They all, as Dr. Shiva described, some of these people and global financial predators, my friends, in other words, elements of the deep state, they go to the same equestrian schools often. They screw the same people, fuck the same people, excuse my language. Yeah, This is how it works, my friends. Dr. Shiva's seen it all. He's been in Hollywood. He's seen how the elites works at times, and even in Hollywood, etc. So, and again, my friends, they and sometimes they have disagreements with one another. You know, the feds, the global financial predators. But in the end, largely they try to work together. I think they would have to hide Tyler Robinson too. Also, yeah, well said, Tycoon. Tyler Robinson is Tyler Robinson. Is that the Luigi Mangione case? Tyler Robinson, Tycoon? Tyler Robinson. No, that's Charlie Kirk case, right? Sorry, I'm having a brain freeze here. Tyler is the patsy. I agree with you. And I think Luigi's a patsy too. But back to Kirk. Kirk was on the plane sipping a pina colada. 11 says, or that's, yeah, 115576. 11 is one of our amazing guests, a regular guest on Devil's Advocates. I was late to the game. 11's been on the show, I don't know how many months now, but I've been honored and privileged that these guys are inviting me on. Lee, the creator, invited me on a show. I'm having a blast with 11 and Joe. They seem to like me as a guest as well, Robin, hopefully. And we're having, I think, a great time with each other. And 11, thanks for being here. I totally agree with you. Kirk was on the plane sipping a pina colada. I think there's no question. Unless pina colada is not his favorite drink. But he was on that plane. 11's got, obviously, a great sense of humor. He always shows it. Let's see here. James, but he can also be serious, which I like. James Sunders. How long does it take to bleed out from several arteries so that blood does not splatter all over the place? Well, I got to be honest. I am not a doctor. I am not a nurse. I'm not a surgeon. I don't work on forensic investigations. Even if I did, I would never tell you. No, but I don't. So I don't know the answer to that. That's a very good question. I'll ask my sister, hopefully. I'll try to take a screenshot of your comment, actually right now, and I'll ask my sister that question. One sec, everyone. There we go. But either way, however long it takes, when you get shot in the neck, again, we know there would be blood all over people that picked up Charlie Kirk. That's just reason, logic, common sense. And there was nothing from this dummy, I believe, that they picked up off the ground. It's all a psyop, my friends. They're trying to manipulate your perceptions, right? Psychological operations, baby. Okay? Right? A psyop, propaganda. There's different names, hearts and minds. I've been through this many, many times, describing to you, telling you what a psyop is, right? There's other terms for psyop, psychological operations. Often conducted by the military, right? And to usurp confessions, for example. The police do psyops. You know, when you interrogate somebody, for example, you're conducting often a type of psyop. Again, my friends, it's really usually a military political tactic that uses communication and other non-combative means to influence a targeted audience's emotions, behaviors, and attitudes, right, everyone? And the target audience can be an individual. In this case, I believe the Charlie Kirk whole thing is to try to con the public, so the general population there, that Charlie Kirk was killed. So you could target individuals, you could target certain organizations, right? And or you can target governments. Governments will conduct psyops often on third world or dangerous countries, right? And try to change policies. These are facts, right, my friends? We got to understand, as I keep saying, I believe it's really important to educate the public on what a psyop is and the different types of psyops. And as Joe brought up with Devil's Advocates with Lee, you know, social engineering, right? And we could go on, my friends. And again, psyops, you can do it, you know, you can do it to induce cooperation, which often that's what most of us want, right? Or unfortunately, some of these global financial predators, elite, sometimes the feds, they will conduct psyops to create division, particularly CIA elements of them, my friends. Yes, right? They want to divide us. So we don't have to fall for it, my friends. Let's get educated, in my opinion, on what a psyop is, how it relates to true crime cases like the Charlie Kirk case, whether it be the Idaho 4, Luigi Mangione, my friends. The list goes on, baby. And when I believe more of us understand how psyops work, the different psyops, how governments conduct them, you know, the intelligence community, then basically, my friends, we're going to be so empowered, you know, as a population, that I really believe it'll help us sustain ethical leadership, strong ethical leadership. But let's start to understand, therefore, what a PSYOP is. Do you guys agree with me, guys and gals? Let me know. I hope you do. I have an activist friend. I don't want to sound too narcissistic here, my friends, but my friend Jane Scarf, who lives in Ottawa here in Canada, she's a super powerful activist. She's been an activist most of her life, just like my friend Ellie has been as well. But Jane Scarf, my friends, to this day, and she's told many of her friends and said it on her live, she thanks me to this day for teaching her what a PSYOP is, because she keeps saying it helped her get all over her fear. She no longer was feared up. She no longer was confused often when the governments try to conduct different PSYOPs, for example, the elites, right, everyone? And it really empowered her. So I was really glad to help her. And I just hope that maybe by me trying to describe, what a PSYOP is, what it does, and how it influences different populations, that it will empower us, my friends. Again, it's ultimately about manipulating perceptions. Okay, folks? Again, another way of saying is when you take selected information and indicators to an audience to influence, your behaviors, your attitudes, sometimes your value systems, your objective reasoning. Okay, folks? Very, very important. I'll do more on PSYOPs in the future. So I'm getting off track but it relates to Charlie Kirk, folks. I'm telling you, okay? Caller, let's see here. Somebody says, one sec, folks. Mike Anderson, BR4MR, a caliber that size, that exit wound there would not have been a backside of his neck. Thank you for that. Interesting. I wonder if other military guys have said that, or gals. Huh. Let's see here. Here's a fact. Elite Meat 130 says, here's a fact. You were bald. Yes, but why didn't you add another sentence? I'm bald, but I have a nice round head. I started to go bald the last couple of years. I went completely bald on purpose because my hairdresser said, Jason, you got a nice round head. Bald look is sexy. It's in. You're going to look sexy, masculine, even more so. That's what basically she said. Anyway, I'm really getting sidetracked. I just was having fun with that comment. This person's having fun with me. Here's a fact, you were bald. It's got nothing to do with our live, man. You should have said it's round, man. That's important. Anyway, T. Kuhn says, I agree if you tell me about why political entities would extract him. Well, again, I think, T. Kuhn, that Kirk, there's two reasons. Kirk was getting exposed. I've had many people tell me this. Kirk was getting, people were destroying him at times in his debates, okay? And it's going to happen. I mean, if you're going to have so many debates, somebody is going to be able to, nobody's perfect, right? So somebody is going to win a debate sometimes. So I think Kirk was getting exposed at times, folks. And because Kirk finally had to tell some truth about what the hell's been going on with this genocide. Of course, he never still got into it in a big way. But he said that, many months ago, he finally had to say that he thought in Israel they did a stand-down order when Hamas attacked Israel. It absolutely was a false flag. Totally agree with Kirk there. And Kirk, in an interview, and again, my friends, he's usually told what to say probably in these big interviews anyways. But for whatever reason, therefore, Kirk said, many of the lobbyists, most of them are Jewish. He's basically saying they have a monopoly, I guess, on the lobbyists or something. So anyway, when you get as big as Kirk and as popular and famous as him, and you say these things, and you critique some of the powerful people of Israel, I believe that puts almost like a bullseye on you. And they had to get rid of Kirk. They had to remove him. But they don't kill him, my friends. There's no reason to kill the guy. You just remove him. He was an asset to the Trump administration. So they do this stupid, phony, hideous psyop, with a blood pack underneath his shirt, most likely in tubes. You do some sort of shot of Kirk, right? And he's stunned for a moment. And then he goes through a trap. Folks, you better believe the feds had a trapdoor underneath. You can see it on YouTube, my friends. Sure as hell looks like it. Easy for them to do that. And then after a few minutes, you see the guy they lifted again, no blood on the shirt, no freedom logo. Kirk had a freedom logo when he was in front of the audience. So right there, my friends, that's the proof, in my opinion. It was completely staged, and Kirk has to be alive. Come on. And no blood going in the vehicles. No blood on the people that picked him up. Hello? And he didn't even react as, again, an amazing military person apparently said on one of his videos, because he was a Navy SEAL. He told you, Kirk didn't react the way you would react. And I think he was implying if it was a high-powered bullet, right? Come on, folks. Or rifle, right? Let's see here. Thanks for going bald. It's sad what men choose to keep. What is your point? Thanks for going bald. It's sad when men choose to keep. I'm not sure about the last part of the sentence, but you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Robin says, so true. So again, my friends, I have to go. I have to go for a walk. Again, by the way, my friends, when I say again, I really do wish snipers, and I think they should tell you that, at least give their opinions that, hey, Kirk is most likely alive. This was a public removal extraction. And they could say the reasons why. Like the guy they lifted had no blood on his shirt. There would be blood all over the place. And the snipers, they've got eyes. They've got better eyes than the rest of us. They can see what we all can see, my friends. When you look at the video evidence, there was no freedom logo as well on this white t-shirt and no blood. I know I keep repeating myself, my friends. I'd love for professional snipers to come on TV. Or former snipers and tell you that truth. But they haven't yet, as far as I know, right? But again, most snipers do an amazing job, amazing, awesome people. I give them credit where credit is due. It's just, I just don't understand why maybe they're, for whatever reason, they're a little bit afraid, I don't know, to say that it was an extraction. Maybe based on their job description, they can't go there. I hate to use the word afraid, because most snipers, obviously, they're very brave. So, Grandma Time Travel Tales says, why don't you just take care of all the different issues in Canada rather than the U.S.? No doubt your country has just as many problems. Well, Grandma Time Travel Tales, you don't have to watch any of my lives then, because I like to talk about these true crime cases in the United States. And also, we'll get to some in Canada eventually as well. But these are important events around the world. When you have something that happens to a Kirk and the U.S. influence around the world, you don't think that's important to cover? Of course it is. That's why this is an international story. People are covering it. And again, I think, my friends, part of removing Kirk from the public eye, they want to bring up ultimately, again, some it's small groups, my friends. I don't want to make it sound like these, hundreds of thousands of people are involved in this huge conspiracy. It's largely, the good news is it's small groups of, probably elements of CIA, FBI, certainly, I think. But, the other elements of law enforcement, feds there, covertly. But ultimately, my friends, the powers that be, the ones that want power, profit, and control, they felt, I think, they needed to remove Kirk, in part because they don't want real powerful leaders out there, my friends, that can grow and will grow a movement with you amazing people out there. They don't want someone, God forbid, to be able to speak out, go engage, corruption within a government, for example, and just speak out and tell the truth and build a real bottoms-up movement. So they make you disappear. But often they don't even kill you. As Dr. Shiva says, my friends, nowadays, instead what they often do, never mind about the Kirk case for one moment, my friends, even though that was staged, right? Kirk's alive, in my opinion. But often what they do now, my friends, they create the not-so-obvious establishment, as Dr. Shiva has labeled that term. In other words, controlled opposition, my friends. Yes, the Tucker Fucker Carlsons, in my opinion, right? The Bernie Sanders there in the United States. We got them in Canada, yes. And they're all over in the United States, right, too. The not-so-obvious establishment. And we could go over more names, but I won't right now, my friends. These are the people that will talk some good talk, including a Booby F. Kennedy Jr., my friends, in my opinion, right? Dr. Shiva exposes all these people. They're the not-so-obvious establishment, okay? Because they don't want to create martyrs, all right? So that's how it normally works. But, yeah. Unless somebody... I don't know how anybody could prove me otherwise that Kirk was actually killed. I mean, I've seen the video evidence. Anybody can see it, folks. It was staged. And again, you got a professional makeup artist. I was fortunate enough for Ellie to tell me this and tell our audience. Her sister says it was so phony, man. So phony the way they did it. And latex on Kirk's neck, apparently, she said. So there you go. Who is woke? 11 says. Question mark. Yes. Yeah, Robin says to this Jat 4651, you're not worth any more of my time. Robin says at Jat 4651. Let's see here. Robin says this at Jat, I think it's 4651. Lots of us care. So you're wrong. You need for disrespect. No need for disrespect. If you don't like the video, just move on. Where is this person's comment, Robin, that was being rude, that should be moving on? I can't find the person. It's okay. Thanks anyway, everyone, for being on here. If I didn't get to all your comments, which I probably didn't, I apologize. It's just hard to see every comment. Eventually, as my channel grows, hopefully Robin maybe even be able to find me a moderator one day. Or Lee, that'd be great. Kingman says, Charlie Kirk's kids calling me daddy already is so cute. Charlie Kirk kids calling me daddy already is so cute. I don't quite understand that. The same person, Kind Man, says, Charlie's wifey texting me on the same day was crazy. Really? She texted you? Interesting. Okay. By the way, my friends, people have wondered about this. Like, we've never seen Charlie Kirk's kids' faces, right? But I can't blame. If Charlie Kirk really has 2 kids and Erica Kirk, we don't know if it's really both of their kids. Who knows, right? But if it's really their kids, I understand why they wouldn't show their faces, right? You know, these are very high-profile people. But as Ellie sort of was speculating that they might pretend at times that, you know, that these 2 children are Erica Kirk's children, but the real children of Erica Kirk and supposedly Charlie Kirk, my friends, you'll never see them. They will not be in this country, in my opinion, but for the most part, they'll be gone. And they'll be, if it's really Charlie Kirk's father, they'll eventually be with Charlie. Remember, my friends, the feds, they do plastic surgery in the witness protection programs. Hopefully they don't do plastic surgery on kids. I hope to God not, but can't put it past anything. Bottom line, my friends, Charlie Kirk, and my opinion, but the facts back it up. Gotta go, everyone. I hope you subscribe to my channel at ESTEY'S Crime Maze, please, please. I hope you'll hit that thumbs up, and we will polish up these lives, I promise, especially if I can get some help. Hopefully, for example, on my next live, she'll help me to make sure that I don't mess up on StreamYard. For some reason, StreamYard would not allow me to live stream. I click live stream, everyone. Instead, it set me up to pre-record. So then I had to go on my phone, and I was 8 minutes late, for example, to do this live, everyone. And I couldn't attach Ellie's brilliant intro that she kindly did for me many months ago for this channel. But we'll all have that resolved, everyone, okay? And I hope you like my intro, by the way. And eventually, maybe I'll do a new intro if I can get, again, help and support, okay? Those of you that want to help support me, feel free to maybe tell me that you want to support me, and I'll tell you a way to do that. If you don't mind, I certainly could use it. Want to get some new equipment, etc. And I'm new to this, you know. I'm not, and I certainly don't have much technological savvy, unfortunately. I want to hire an editor eventually if I have to. But anyway, enough said about me, everyone. I hope you have an amazing, beautiful morning, again, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Feel free to tell me what country you're in, folks. Not one of you, I don't think, has said what country you're in, okay? Be nice to know, and then I can tell the audience in the world. Anyway, just a thought. So thank you, everyone. We'll do a live hopefully in a couple of days. Speaking of lives, you guys can find me as well for what it's worth. I'll be on, I think, the best, most entertaining true crime channel out there right now. You know what that channel is? Besides mine. Just kidding. The best one, really, my friends, is Devil's Advocates. Yes, I'm learning a lot from Lee. Lee's the creator. DA. Devil's Advocates, my friends. We're going live at 9 p.m. tonight. You can find the beautiful Robin, the vivacious, beautiful Robin. She was on my live here. She'll be there, my friends. She's the co-producer of the show. She's great at relating to the audience and asking people for support, you know, subscribe over to DA, etc. And she does so many other things, my friends, getting the StreamYard going. And she's just an amazing person all the way around. And so thank you, Robin. I look forward to seeing you, Robin, tonight at 9 p.m. with our guests. Lee will not be able to be on the show, apparently, but we're going to have live call-ins. You guys can phone in tonight, 9 p.m. That's 9 p.m. Eastern, folks, my time. Be there on Devil's Advocate Show if you can be free. I know it's a Saturday night, but if you're not doing too much and you want some different sort of true crime, I'd love to hear your question. Maybe ask me a question as one of the guests. And can make statements, of course, okay? Thanks, everyone. That's 9 p.m. tonight on Devil's Advocates. I'll be hopefully as one of the guests again. I'm a regular guest, and again, I feel honored and privileged to be on the show. I'm having a blast with Joe, with 1-1, with Robin, and with Lee, the creator and owner of the show. Thanks, everyone. Got to go. Hope you subscribe to my channel. Feel free to leave me a comment, hit that bell icon, be notified, and hit the like button. I think I've said enough. I normally don't talk this fast, and I normally don't talk this fast on Devil's Advocate Show either, because I have lots of time to talk. This I had to sort of rush, my friends, but I hope I was able to put out at least some important, valuable information for some of you out there, okay? And I know you guys are putting out valuable information at times too. And if I get razzed like I did on this live by certain people, that's okay. I'll shake it off. I'll shake it off. Take care, my friends. Bye, everyone. Oh, yeah, Robin says it's his last day in Moscow, Idaho, being Lee, I believe, in Moscow, Idaho. So in a few days, he'll be back joining our lives, my friends. But we just might have another entertaining live tonight on Devil's Advocates, and I think it will be. And you can phone in, my friends. You can try to get in on a phone call. Thanks, everyone. Got to go. Bye. Now I got to remember how to end this live. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Here we go. I hope you share this live too, my friends. Will you share this live? Thank you. I hope so. Bye.